Good morning, good afternoon, and good evening, wherever you are in the world, and welcome back to Gloomhaven TV. And thank you for joining us again today at the Gloomhaven Grand Festival. As always, my name is Price Johnson, Chief Operating Officer of Cephalofair Games, and as always, my hair is too tall for today's screen. So today we are being joined by Forteller Games, and I've got Adam here with me. Adam, how you doing today?
Hey, not too bad, Price. Thank you so much for having us here, and I hope you guys are all enjoying the festival so far. All the announcements have been great, and I really look forward to seeing some of these things in person.
Hey, thanks, man. And for those who don't know, Forteller Games is one of our licensing partners. In fact, one of our very first licensing partners that we had the pleasure of working with in the tabletop space. And they are responsible for our amazing voice audio narration for our games, all of our campaign style games. And so, Adam, as I understand, you brought some of your team today that we're going to get to meet in a few minutes. But before we get there, let's talk a little bit about Forteller and kind of how the company got its start, where you all came from and who you work with, and kind of how we came to meet Cephalofair and Forteller.
Yeah, absolutely. So, Forteller Games really is kind of just a brainchild of being a fan of board games, really wanting to present these stories in massive and epic ways. When the idea first came along to kind of have narration with board games, we really didn't know whether it was going to be, possible to have uh, music and different characters and stuff. So it kind of started with just the narrative. But as it kind of turned out, we were able to kind of coordinate all the separate little things because of the skills of everybody that's involved in the team. But the initial idea was actually presented on Reddit, and the community got a hold of it and they thought it was really cool. So at that point, we reached out to Price actually, and just kind of said, "Hey, is it cool if we do this officially?" And he gave us the go ahead after a few months of conversation, and after that, it was pretty much history. Um, you know,
And
uh,
I think it's important to note the tracking price down, what that actually looked like and involved, because I do believe it was your entire team yelling out and approaching me from across the Gen Con hall at like day one as everybody was flooding the hall. So
yep,
uh,
pretty much.
very very vividly stands out and definitely an attention getter. So
Yeah.
yeah, it was definitely an impressive, pitch having your team come up. And I think we spent a good amount of that first Gen Con together. I think that was your team's first time out there just doing some exploratory work. And we ended up doing a couple meals and talking more about it. And yeah, it definitely fit with, I know, a personal gripe I have in my personal groups, which is that no one bothers to listen to Price read the scenario narrative. And if I'm being entirely honest and transparent with the Gloomhaven community, that's the entire reason Forteller and Cephalofair exist, is my own personal beefs with my own personal group at home. So thank you to that group of mine, and I hope our community has benefited from it. So. But yeah, no, we've come a long way since those days, and Adam, you've been along for the ride really since that first project. So you've seen a lot of kind of behind the scenes of Cephalofair as we've grown over the years too. I seem to recall a couple conventions with sleep outs on floors and things like that in rentals and Airbnbs and stuff. So
Oh yeah.
yeah,
It's
been a
it's
while.
wonderful. I mean, nowadays you can actually just sleep in the Fortel or in the Frosthaven box, which is super exciting. But yeah, no, I mean, to watch you guys grow from just having this Kickstarter called Gloomhaven, and I had no idea what it was. Me and my buddy, we bought the game, and sat down and played it, and it was just like, oh, this is something new. We need to what is this thing? And it was one of those mind breakers. But as Forteller kind of came about, working with Cephalofair was kind of one of those things that like I can't believe it worked out the way that it did, and we were able to kind of support you guys through so many different kind of campaigns now. But honestly, I mean, Jaws of the Lion is one of my favorite board game IPs of all time. Just the way that it's presented, you can hand it to a friend, and they're like, "This thing's small but heavy and dense and cool." And everybody that's involved in the creation of it is really important. And I think that one of the biggest things is, and you guys will actually meet him in a little bit, when we got together with Philip and we crafted the way that the Gloomhaven narrative would unfold. it really has that unique sound that I believe has one of those moments of like, wow, this is Gloomhaven. Like, just like when you hear, the Power Rangers theme song, or when you hear, Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles for the first time, like, it reminds me of that level of uniqueness. And Philip kind of brought that to the world. And then as we started voicing all the different characters, Cassandra, she has a huge story plot thread, and there's not a whole lot of players out there that have gone all the way through Forgotten Circles, but man, is it good. And, it was really cool to see her involvement with Hale, who's played by Julie Shields, and she's going to be on the stream in a little bit. And Cassandra is played by Rhiannon Mauschel, and she's going to be on the stream in a little bit. And then all the Vermlings in the universe are like played by one guy, Michael Malconian, up until a certain point. And he'll be on the stream, and he plays a whole bunch of other characters as well. And that's just, how we kind of got together and made Forteller and Cephalofair kind of work. And as that universe continues to expand, it's just so exciting to see everybody want to play a part. Even Alex Ross, he plays a really, really great character in Frosthaven, and he's also written some of the parts in Frosthaven. So it's pretty cool.
That's great. No, and one of my favorite things that I've enjoyed seeing over the last several years too is just the number of publishers that Forteller has expanded to work with as well. One of my absolute favorite publishers in existence is Red Raven Games. Love everything that they do, and so the fact that you guys, are there to automatically do the narration for each of their campaign games is I'm already getting the game, but the fact that there's audio narration for it, like even that much more done. Like I don't need to know anything about the game, just I'm in. Let's go. So. Really excited. As I understand, you guys have an active campaign going on with them right now for Sleeping Gods, right?
So, Distant Skies is actually starting to come down the pipeline. It's about to be kind of in distribution, I think. But that one, oh man, the audio in that is so good. It's so unique and so cool. But one of the really cool things is that working with Ryan Lockett over at Red Raven, he's just always willing to embrace the new and try something different. And I mean, anybody who's played his games, that the narrative is not normal. It's not like a normal game, and it always is telling a story that's pretty abnormal. So having the opportunity to use sound design to kind of get into that abstract is pretty sweet. And you mentioned working with partners. We're actually working with Madara and Brooklyn and Alex over at Succubus Publishing. Those guys pretty well, and we're doing a whole big thing for them, and actually doing Act 2 and Act 3 for Madara, which is pretty hefty, but it's going to be a lot of fun. So yeah, I'm pretty excited because I know you're a fan of Madara. So.
I am. We're friends with Alex over there for sure. Those guys are super creative geniuses, and I think our friends over at Kinfire Chronicles as well. You guys are working on that project too, I understand, and so I'm super jazzed for that. They're good friends of ours, and that's an exciting project that I can't wait to play and listen to now. So.
Well, they'll be at Gen Con. I bet you Jane will demo the game for you, like in person. You got to see the components, man. They really did a wonderful job. And obviously, the audio narration from Forteller is it's devastating to say the least. It's one of those ones that when you hear it, it has aggressive music and big, huge tonality, but it's a pretty exciting thing to kind of have. All these different publishers come down the pipeline and be able to also play the games with the people who make them. I mean, that is something that is unbelievable. So
yeah, no, it's great. And Isofarian Guard is like another game I've played recently. So not that Cephalofair is in any way giving you a shortage of content, right? Especially after something like Frosthaven, but all great campaign fantasy style games I highly recommend checking out from some great publishers, and obviously some high quality audio narration from Forteller. So highly recommend checking them out. All good friends of Cephalofair and the team here. So, well, excellent. With that being said, we've got some mercenaries here, right, behind the scenes. Should we bring them out and meet the cast and crew of Gloomhaven, Frosthaven, and Jaws of the Line?
Yep, absolutely. So, like I said before, we've got Philip. He's the grand voice, if you will, the narration of Gloomhaven itself, and I guess eponymously, kind of the monologue of Isaac, if you will. Um,
That's fair. Okay. Well, great. Well, hello, team. Good to have everybody here. How's everybody doing today?
Hello, doing great, feeling good. Thank you, and thank you so much for having me and having us here. This is awesome.
Oh yeah, it's great to put faces to voices, right? Because that is mostly how we in the Gloomhaven community have known you up to this point. So let's kind of do the rounds. And Philip, do you mind if we start with you?
Sure, no
You want
problem at
to
all.
yeah, tell us a little bit about yourself. Where are you from? Where are you located? And what are some of your accolades? What are some cool projects that our community might recognize you from?
Sure, no problem. Thank you. Well, thank you again for having me. My name is Philip. Hi, everybody. Philip Sacramento. I'm a voice actor from Northern Ireland, so I'm a long way over the pond. And if you've been playing Cephalofair's games using Forteller, you've been hearing me as the narrator of Gloomhaven, Frosthaven, Just Lion, all that great stuff. I've also done work for Games Workshop. I have done animated series and audiobooks for the Black Library and stuff for Warhammer Plus. I've also done. I also play Taiga on Tribe 9 for over at Funimation or Crunchyroll, and yeah, I sort of turn up in a bunch of different places. I'm sort of all over the place, and it's very thankfully I'm very cool, very happy that it's a bit cooler on this sort of summer evening.
Rhiannon, would you like to go next?
Yeah, sure. Hi, everyone. I'm Rhiannon. I'm Australian, but I'm based in the UK because I married a Brit, so had to leave the beach behind. Um, I am a voice actor. I am known for a lot of stuff with Forteller. I'm delighted to have done quite a bit with them. As Adam said, I did Cassandra in Forgotten Circles. I've also done a few characters in Frosthaven, like Dinah and Jam, and just lots of nice little bitty NPC bits. Nice, chewy characters, really fun roles. And also some narration on things like Chronicles of Drunagor, um, Deck of Wonders, and I also work in games. So most recently, I released for Warframe and the Deviri Paradox, which is their big April release, and a few other bits and pieces, things like Chris Tales and lots of nice little indie games, lots of really cool characters. And it's a delight to be here. But yes, it is rapidly warming in here. So please forgive me if I start like dripping mid
Oh yeah,
panel.
I mean, I think we're having record-breaking heat waves pretty much everywhere right now. At least over here in California, we do. Sacramento, more specifically, Philip. Very misleading your last name, by the way.
Hey,
Um,
the number of variants I've had in people spelling that name over the years is really I just need to put it on like a badge or something. It's just like the city, just the way you say it.
well, I'll never get it wrong. I promise you that. So next up we
Thank
have
you.
yeah. Next up we have Michael. Michael, how you doing today?
Hi, can you hear me?
We can hear you great. Yeah.
Great. Hi, yeah. I'm Michael Malconian, and I've been working with Forteller for a long time now, since Gloomhaven, which was like the first one, I think.
Mhm.
I've been in basically every single Forteller project since the beginning, except for Near and Far. Wait, no, Above and Below. I wasn't in that one. I was in
Fair enough.
everything else. I wasn't in Above and Below. But yeah, as Adam mentioned earlier, I am Mr. Vermling. Basically, anytime they need like a high pitched screaming rodent creature, I'm who they call. And then
Excellent.
I've been bits and bobs in every single one of them. And but in Ice Safari and Guard, I actually was Yuri, and I don't know if that was I don't remember if he was the main character, but he was a main character. And so that was a treat to be able to
Yeah.
do that. My camera's a little off center.
When I was sent your list of roles that you'd played, one that stuck out to me specifically was Victim. I found that one very compelling. It was just Victim. So
Thank you.
I don't know if that's a reoccurring role or if that was a one-time, but I hope you're doing better now.
We'll see.
Yeah.
And yeah, aside from that, I've done work in anime, games, animation. You can hear me in Genshin Impact. You can hear me in Ruby, the most recent season of Ruby. I'm the Red Prince in that, so that was fun.
Cool.
Mobile Legends, just little things here and there.
Good stuff.
A bit more.
Excellent.
I'm not used to being in the rectangle, so I'm adjusting it.
Oh no, you're great. I keep going outside the box too because I keep not looking over there. So.
Yeah.
Excellent. Well, thank you, Michael. Good to have you here today. And last but not least, everybody's favorite Aether enhancer, Hale. Julie Shields is in the room. How are you doing today, Julie?
Oh, good. How are you? It's
I'm
nice
doing-
to be here and see so many people that we've all worked on the same project but never met in person. So that's very cool. So thanks for bringing us all together.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. Really glad to have you here. And especially Hale, one of my favorite, NPCs across our games. In fact, all of our replacement parts ship in your name, Hale. So when people get replacement parts, it comes from Hale at Cephalofair.
Aw, oh, that's so sweet.
Yeah, people are quite familiar with you and your work. So.
Didn't
But
know
tell us
that.
a little bit about some of your backlog. What I know you've been involved in a lot of really high level video games and stuff like that. So tell our community where they might have heard your voice before.
Yeah, I do quite a few games. And World of Warcraft is I did a few characters in Shadowlands, and then Hearthstone. Got to do a lot of fun characters for Hearthstone, Borderlands 3, Five Nights at Freddy's. There's like Seven Nights 2 is a really fun Claire. She's a very fun character. Monster Hunter Rise. I got to be one of the player voices, which I don't get to do very often, so that was really fun. And then quite a bit of anime over the years as well, which is really fun. It's kind of a contrast to the games, but they're similar but not. So it's kind of I mean, they're kind of similar because characters, but it's kind of different. It's like, I don't know. And then it's fun just going in and doing like Walla it's kind of fun getting in with a group of people. So, and get in, even like going in for anime and doing like a Walla session in a booth together with like 3 other people just improvising is, it's something that you don't get to do with games very often. So that's kind of a fun side of anime that, we get to just kind of make stuff up on the fly, so it's kind of fun.
Anime seems like a fun area to work and really get creative. It seems like there's maybe some broader range to play with there, but maybe that's just my perception of it.
Yeah, well, especially because like when you're in there, a lot of times the director will be like rewriting stuff like as you go. I mean, not constantly, but that's really kind of fun because there's a little bit more I don't know, flexibility with like changing stuff up, even though, I mean, it has to match the flaps perfectly, but still they're so genius at like making it all fit. So that's kind of, kind of different from games where typically it's what, you're doing what you have on the script. And there's not, changes happening while you're going a lot of times, but yeah. And so it's very, very cool to be here and be part of, I mean, Forteller is what they're doing is amazing. And of course, what you guys have been doing with Gloomhaven and Frosthaven and everything. So it's good to be, all together in a big little, big group.
It's great to have you all here and meet so many, again, like put faces to those voices that we've heard for so long. So, and thank you all, because you all are an important part of, making this brand and making this franchise happen. Forteller audio narration has been a key part of a lot of our pledge levels in the last couple projects, this one included. So That usually means it's one of our highest selling SKUs in the project, and that means it's getting into the most amount of hands. And anything we can do to make gameplay that much easier and compelling for folks is always a plus in my book. So again, thank you all for being a part of making that happen. So I'd love to just throw around a couple questions to you all, just so our community can learn a little bit more about like the life of a voice actor and what it's like working in your field and industry, because I think it seems so cool, but we know so little about it, about behind the scenes. So I'm just going to kind of go around, pitch some softballs to you all, if that's okay. And feel free to elaborate as much as you'd like. So Philip, you have shared quite a wide range of different types of projects you've worked on. It sounds like everything from animation, video games, audiobooks, commercials. So I'd love to know, like, how different is recording for those different types of projects? And if it is that different, do you have a more preferred type of project you like working on over others, or how does that work?
Oh man. Well, first off, that's a great question. Thank you. So yeah, it's a tricky one. I think the way I like to think about it is that the process of what I do from an acting standpoint is kind of this is similar, I think, with regardless of the project, because you're still kind of making decisions and kind of looking at the material and kind of trying to decide, sort of go with your instincts on what kind of ideas you think might work vocally, what might give it some interesting flair, and what might tell the story. Because ultimately, like, it's all some form of storytelling, right? It's just a question of what story are you telling and who are you telling it to. And so I think that while there's a unified core underlying it all, that's sort of similar whatever project you're doing, but every project has its own sort of intricacies and nuances that you have to sort of keep an eye on. And particularly working on something like working on all of the Cephalofair projects, Gloomhaven and Frosthaven, and that, and with narration, is one of the unique challenges from that was trying to really lay the groundwork and sort of give a real sense of the sound of this world, like, because when you're the first voice that somebody hears in it, you want to make sure that it's properly conveying like the color, the atmosphere, kind of what the players should be feeling when they first get around the table to play their first game. And so there was a lot of back and forth, and Forteller, were a huge help in guiding me sort of through that process and giving me all of that information to help me inform like the decisions that I was going to make. So yeah, I think as an actor, there's a similar process that kind of runs underneath it all, but obviously then you tailor it to the needs of particular projects and particular productions. The narration particularly has been something that I have loved working on, just because it's allowed me to deep dive into like one particular setting, one particular style of storytelling, and really immerse myself in it really, really deeply. And that's been a great experience and hugely valuable, and very befitting of these worlds that are so vast and huge and colorful. So yeah, I'm very, very thankful for the opportunity.
Oh, great. That was very insightful. Thank you for sharing that with us. Rhiannon, if I understand correctly, your background is in musical theater. Is that right?
Yeah, it is.
Okay. My wife and I were huge musical theater nerds. So is there any productions that you were part of that we'd recognize?
Huh. No.
No. Okay.
No, not just. I did a lot of like fringe and indie and emerging musicals, things that
Okay.
went to Edinburgh Fringe, things that were off West End.
Okay.
A lot of like cool little fun stuff, and then I kind of got distracted and went to Japan for a while, and I worked there at Universal Studios as a singer, and then was like, oh, I need to go back. I left my husband there. Oh no, I'm a cat. Went back, and then well, pandemic happened, so theater kind of just
Okay.
died.
So did that sort of push that transition for you then, from theater to voice acting? Was the pandemic, or?
Yeah.
Oh,
Before that, I hadn't really done any. I'd done a little bit for fun, making serial comedies with a friend of mine,
okay.
but never actually done it. Did a little bit of ADR work for Universal while I was in Japan, but
Interesting. Okay.
very, very limited. And yeah, it was really the pandemic that kicked my butt. Was like, you need to figure out something else.
Okay. All right. Well, that sounds like a good thing to have come out of a negative situation, and it's incredibly impressive that that's only been a couple years now. It's a big shift, and so it seems to be going well for you. You're enjoying it, I take it.
Yeah, I love it. I think I found where I was meant to be. I love musical theater. I'm a huge fan,
Yeah.
but I'm
Well, if Adam's
just
behind the curtain still, Adam, we might need to get some musical acts worked into the next set of voice recordings. So I'm going to talk to Isaac about that, and we'll see what we can make happen for maybe Gloomhaven, the musical. So.
oh my gosh, yes. I'm so in. I'm on the ground floor. I'll do whatever. I'll be a tree.
All
I'm
right.
in on that.
Rhiannon gets first look at leading roles for that. All right, Michael, how are you doing? So lots of credentials here to your name, but one that stuck out for me personally as a longtime fan of the Halo franchise is you were the replacement voice for Caboose, if I understand correctly.
That is correct. Yeah.
Is that right? Excellent.
Yeah.
So can our community expect to hear a little bit of Caboose influence throughout the Gloomhaven recordings, or does it lean a little bit more firmly Mind Thief Rat Creature?
Well, the nice thing about what my part in a lot of these games has been is because I play so many very small parts, you know?
Yeah.
Like I don't have a lot of parts that go on for many scripts. I do a crap ton of just like, oh, there's this like priest and you have to fight him, or there's this vermling, there he is, or there's what was it called? The I forget all the I forget all the names of the different types of people in Gloomhaven, despite having finished a campaign of it in my own board game group recently. Gloomstalker, best character, by the way.
Good to know.
But the nice thing about that is they give me a lot of creative freedom because I've been working with them for so long. There's a great amount of trust between myself and Adam, who's my main point of contact between me and the Forteller production at large. And so, you have to the art there is like, oh, I have this character and they have like 2 lines and then they die, right?
That's the victim, right? Coming full circle. Yeah.
And so the art there is like, okay, what can I do to make this character memorable despite their extremely small, relatively speaking, presence in the story? And I get let's see, I get the opportunity to be, again, because I have so many, I have to also add diversity to that. And so I have the opportunity to play with a lot of the various accents that I have training in, and just really play around with my range. And as I said, Adam at this point basically just hands me the scripts and trusts me to do something good with it, which is
that's great.
A great honor, obviously, and a great boon as a creative person to just have the opportunity to go wild with it.
No, trust is huge, right, in any collaborative creative process, and so that's a clear indicator that something's working well. If you and Adam are at that place, and Adam's a great guy, so I trust his judgment. So it's great to have you as part of the team. I'd like to follow up on one of the things you said there. You said you had accent training. Is that right?
Yeah.
What I heard. Tell me about that. I know nothing. I had no idea that was even a thing. So what does that look like? How does one pursue accent coaching?
Yeah, it was really just some college classes.
Really?
I worked with my professor was Kathy Dunmazingo at USC, the University of Southern California, their dramatic arts program, and I don't remember all of her credits. Among them is working with I think she used to tell us that she used to work with Scarlett Johansson in the Avengers movie to help her with the Russian accent.
Russian accent.
And
yeah.
so that was really, I don't necessarily claim to be able to infiltrate a society and pass perfectly with my approximation of their dialect, but for the purposes of these characters, I've been able to use the education that I had in that we use what we call the International Phonetic Alphabet, which is sort of this universally applicable alphabet, not of letters per se, but of sounds that the voice makes. And so you can using the IPA, you can relate the sounds that you make in your native language to another dialect or another accent or dialect in maybe not necessarily another language, but a lot of the dialects I have are from other English-speaking countries, which makes it a little
Okay.
easier for on that front. But I don't. It's a whole thing to get into. There's like books on this stuff. But
Yeah, that
basically, these courses that I took
Yeah.
2 or 3 of them, and it was rapid fire for some of them, and others we took more time to deepen into. But it would be learning the IPA, taking scripts and translating them sort of with the IPA, and it's like, okay, I'm gonna change this letter to be this symbol so that my brain knows, oh, don't pronounce that the way I would do it in my American accent, pronounce it the way you do it in this accent.
Wow.
And then just a ton of practice after that.
No, that's fascinating and something I legitimately had no idea existed. So thank you for teaching us something today, and I'm gonna have to follow up on that because
Yeah, it's a good tool to have in the actor's toolbox.
Yeah.
That's all it is.
the concept of like taking a class to learn a language, right? Completely normal to me, but the concept of taking a class to sound like maybe you speak a different language but aren't, that's crazy. I love that. That's amazing. So. Well, thank you. Julie, the question I had for you, just with the number of projects you've been involved, and it sounds like you've played multiple roles in some of those projects. What does organizing your roles as a voice artist look like? Like, I know when it comes to graphic design and artwork, oftentimes we have like style guides, right? Or we have, documents that we kind of notate, all right, here's sort of our rules of how that we should adhere to this project as we're designing it. But what does it look like as a voice actor? How do you keep track of, all right, I use this inflection for this character, but that character has a stutter and things like that? What can you kind of walk us through what that looks like on your end?
Yeah. I mean, luckily a lot of the projects aren't, you don't have multiple characters going for long periods of time. So you might go in, for one game and you might have 4 different characters, but really there's one that's typically like has the most lines and is the main character that you'll do first. And then the others are, tend to be kind of smaller. So, and you just have to jump into them. I mean, a lot of times you don't know why, because the extra, like say the 3 additional characters are ones that you didn't even know you had till you got there. So there's not really a lot of organization that can be done, because you kind of know the one you auditioned for, and so you can kind of prepare for that and know what you're going in. But then the other characters that are given, you don't know typically till you're there and you're recording, and then they come up kind of one at a time.
Okay.
And so you just have to, I mean, sometimes I'll have little phrases in the different accents that will be, kind of put me kind of in that place at least, and I'll try to be like, oh gosh, okay, what was the phrase for the Eastern European accent? And then I'll be like, oh, please remember it in time, because now and you have to kind of call it up. And so it is a little on your toes sometimes, because there's not a lot of preparation time sometimes for
Sure.
things. And that's kind of why, I mean, that's kind of the Walla thing I was talking about earlier is kind of fun, because you don't know, you just go in and it's like, okay, now you're going to be this group of kids in a classroom, and then okay, now you're going to be the parents, and you're like cheering them on at it, so there's you're kind of jumping back and forth, and there's no prep really, because you don't know till you get there and you're right in front of the mic a lot of times. But I will say, Adam mentioned Madara and earlier, and that was one where there was a lot of prep work, because it was a very massive kind of narration project with tons of characters. And so for that, there was an organizational I was able to organize and I did like samples for each character. Well, as I went, once I did a new character, I would just take a section of audio and label it and put it in a folder, so that way if they didn't come up for another 2 or 3 chapters, and it had been a while and there were so many other characters in between, just to kind of remind me, kind of put me back in that character, I would pull up my folder and bring up that character and then listen to it. So that was a way to organize that you can, but often you can't. Like often
Sure.
it's kind of like, surprise, here's what we're doing today. But that's why voiceover and voice acting is kind of fun, because it's like keeps you on your toes, and it's like sometimes your heart gets racing a bit. Like you're just like, okay,
Yeah.
we're here, we're gonna do this, you know.
Fun but challenging. It sounds like. I mean, it sounds like in talking with all of you, it sounds like that need to improv, right? That ability to improv or just have flexibility, right, on a day-to-day basis. It sounds like that's pretty key to this role. Would you all tend to agree?
Yeah,
Yeah.
I didn't really know it until, I mean, I didn't do improv really until I started doing voiceover and voice. Even when I was just doing just acting and like theater and on camera stuff a little bit, I didn't realize, the importance of like getting involved in, doing a lot of improv until doing voiceover, because then you're just like, okay, I need to, I need to feel more comfortable just being thrown into the lion's den, more than I'm used to. So I think a lot of voice actors get kind of into improv eventually if they aren't already. So
And if I'm not mistaken, you are also part of a musical band or act and have music, I think, across a few games, Borderlands 2, 3, and SpongeBob. Is that right?
mhm.
Excellent.
Yeah, yep, SpongeBob, and that was our kind of, I guess it was kind of our first thing into having music, writing music for TV or movies was
IPs and stuff.
SpongeBob, and that was really fun. Uh, yeah, that was really fun. And then yeah, Borderlands 2 and 3, and then some other like movies and stuff. But we just kind of every now and then you're asked to do it. We don't know, we don't really seek it out because we don't really know like how do you seek out getting that type of work. But so every now and then people will ask us to write something for a project,
Yeah.
and then other than that, we just write stuff on our own for our own, you know, putting out stuff for our band. And then, but I'd be totally down with the musical thing. I've already told Adam about that when a while back. I was like, if you're doing music and you're a composer, and we should put out some,
Yeah.
like, I don't know, some kind of fun characters singing, and
Well, we've got a quattral punk band in the world of Gloomhaven, so maybe we'll have to connect sometime about that and
yeah,
bring Michael into the fold to do the voice. So,
nice.
Adam, I don't know wherever you are behind the curtain. I think you've been listening in. We clearly have two lead singers in a band and some voice actors lined up for this. So let's make this happen. Gloomhaven the musical coming to Backer Kit 2024. So look for that project.
Dare we say songs from the Sleeping Lion?
So
Dare we say?
dare we say? I like it. I dig it. Well, thank you all for spending so much time with us today. It's been great getting to learn more about your backgrounds and your line of work. Definitely been eye-opening for me. I've learned a lot, some stuff that I think I need to go YouTube what accent classes look like, just to educate myself some more, because that's super fascinating to me, Michael. So yeah, is there anything, yeah, Adam, I know you're still behind the curtain, but we're going to see you out at Gen Con later this year coming up. We got like 21 days, I think. So that is just right around the corner. Anything else the team here would like to plug? Any special projects any of you are working on, or any special appearances we should know about?
Ooh.
You're voice actors, so I don't know how often appearances happen. That might be a loaded question.
Depending on what characters you voice, it might be every weekend or actually never.
Fair enough.
That's me.
Yeah, I think if you want to keep up to date with anything that I'm getting up to, you can
Follow you.
you can find me at philipsacramento.com with 2 L's. You can also follow me over on Twitter at Phil in the Booth, or you can find me on YouTube at Philip Sacramento as well. So that's probably the best way to get in touch and find out what I'm working on at any given time.
Yeah, same for me. My website's michaelmalconian.com. The only social media that I really use is also Twitter, and it's at acting Malconian. I'm Malconian who acts. Yeah, waiting for the day that Forteller gets the license to do a little Twilight Imperium. How about that? You know Twilight Imperium?
Ooh, Philip, I'll be there for that one. I'll be there with bells
I
on.
am on board.
Imperium.
Love Twilight Imperium.
Favorite board game. It takes all day. That's
Yes.
why I love it.
What
Yes.
faction are you going to voice, though, Michael? That's the more important
Ooh,
question.
let's see.
And why is it Space Lines?
I'll leave the space lines to Phil, I think, or someone with a more resonant voice. I think, well, it's the Easterl tribes. They're basically vermlings in space.
All right, Firmlings in
Little,
space.
little golem-looking dudes.
Love that choice.
Excellent.
So good.
And then put a filter on me, and I'll be the necrovirus too.
Okay, perfect. Rhiannon, where can folks follow your great work at?
You can find me at rhiannonmarshall.com. I'm the only one in the world, so even if you misspell it, I'm likely to come up. I'm also on Twitter at rsmarshall. I'm on Instagram. I'm on LinkedIn. It's such a weird thing to plug, but I'm there, and it does really well. And one of these days, I'll figure out why, and I'll monetize it. But please feel free to look me up, follow me. Always happy to also help if people have questions about voice acting and getting to voice acting. I kind of like to pass on the knowledge because I had a lot of people help me, and I'm still early in my journey. So I feel like I'm in a good place to be like, I'm new. Here's what I did. So feel free to hit me up. I've got a blog and all that sort of thing with advice and tips and how I got here.
I love that. Thank you. Julie, what about you?
Oh, I have my site, julieshields.com. I probably should update it, but I don't very often.
She's on Gloomhaven. It's all good. That's all you need to know.
Yeah. And then like Twitter's Julie R. Shields and Instagram Julie Shields. But I mostly just put pictures there because I was like, from the beginning, it's only going to be for pictures of things. And anyway, that's it. Just pictures.
Fall from that.
So, yeah.
Thank you, Isaac, for dropping all those websites in the chat. If anyone's interested in learning more about voice acting work or our lovely, talented crew here, please check out their amazing work and follow the Grand Festival for more information on Forteller audio narration. So on behalf of the whole Cephalofair team and Forteller Games staff as well, thank you all for joining us today for this little behind-the-scenes voice actor look, and we'll catch you next time. Stay tuned. In about 15 minutes, we'll have Nikki Valens live for a solo play of Gloomhaven's Buttons and Bugs. So we'll catch you then. And until next time, enjoy the festival. Thanks for coming.